Trustee should be joining us.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum and our superintendent has joined us, so we'll get started. Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is 5:33 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. This meeting is officially open with a quorum present. The following board members are present virtually, and I will now call on each of their names in order of their districts. I will still call on everyone just in case they joined while we're doing roll call. District 2 Trustee Toby Jackson.
Good evening, President Ramos. I'm here representing District 2.
Good to see you. District 3 Trustee Quentin Phillips.
Good evening, President Ramos. Here representing District 3.
All right, good to see you, sir. District 4 Trustee Daphne Brookins.
Good evening, President Ramos. Daphne Brookins representing District 4.
Good to see you as well. District 5 Trustee CJ Evans. I know she said she'd be a little late, so we'll greet her when she comes in. District 6 Trustee Andor.
Good evening, President Ramos. This is Ann Dar representing District 6.
To you as well, Trustee Dar. District 7 Trustee Norman Robbins. Trustee Robbins, I don't think is going to be able to join us tonight. District 8 Trustee Anaya Luevanos.
Good evening, President Ramos. Anaya Luevanos, representing District 8.
All right, good to see you, sir. District 9 Trustee Ashley Paz.
District 9 Trustee Ashley Paz representing North Side, South Side, East Side tonight. Proudly happy to be here. Everybody smile.
I heard smile, and then I heard there was a blank with the muting. So I'm assuming that's a smile. Good to see you as well. And I am District 1 Trustee Jacinto Ramos Jr., and I'm present. On March 16, 2020, Governor Abbott temporarily suspended certain open meetings requirements imposed by the Open Meetings Act to slow the spread of COVID-19. This action permits meetings subject to the Open Meetings Act to be hosted by telephone or video conference. This meeting is being broadcasted live via Spectrum Charter Channel 192, the Fort Worth ISD live channel on YouTube, and a link provided in the agenda. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference or telephone call. We are meeting by use of Zoom software application, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak during the public comment portion will be unmuted for 3 minutes to speak. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. We apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented times. If you have questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or by email at toma@oag.texas.gov. We will now move to our pledges, which will be led by Mr. Clint Bond. You're on mute, Mr. Bond.
Sorry. Let me try that again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. At this time, we will hear public comment. Let me remind you that because of the restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but the board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or direct a person to visit with staff about the issue. While the board listens to concerns of a general nature, speakers should refrain from mentioning names of individual employees or public officers during their comments. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. No presentation may exceed 3 minutes unless the speaker has prior approval for additional time because of the use of a translator. Speakers who require the assistance of a translator are permitted double the allotted time of speakers who do not require the assistance of a translator. Furthermore, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. I ask that you please observe these rules for the purpose of effectively accomplishing the business of the meeting in a timely manner. Because we are utilizing an online platform, all speakers will be announced to speak in the order in which they signed up. Mr. Clint Bond will announce the speaker's name, and at that time, his or her microphone will be unmuted for 3 minutes. Before making your comment, state your name and then proceed with your comment. At the end of 3 minutes, your microphone will be muted. Mr. Bond, would you please call on our first speaker?
Mr. Ramos, our first speaker for this evening is Sarah Pareda. If you're ready, you may begin.
Hi, my name is Sarah Pareda. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak to you all about my interest in serving on the Tarrant Appraisal Board of Directors. I'm interested in serving in this capacity as I have a strong belief in the importance of public schools, having been the product of an Arlington ISD education. Most importantly to me, though, I have a son who will enter first grade at a Fort Worth ISD school in just a couple of weeks. I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to serve in this capacity, as demonstrated by my strong financial acumen, my cross-functional collaboration skills with a focus on driving towards solutions, and my experience navigating complex financial situations. I've developed these skills over the course of my 16-year career in corporate finance and continue to hone these skills as the CFO of a business unit for a multinational corporation. Fort Worth ISD has such a diverse student population, and furthering diversity and inclusion is something that is so important to me as a Latina. In the past, I've mentored fourth graders through the Fort Worth ISD Academy 4 program, and most recently, I've been involved in the diversity inclusion efforts within my company as a member of the North America Diversity and Inclusion Council. And of course, I try to bring a high degree of integrity to both my professional and volunteer endeavors. I realize that within our current financial climate, there will be challenges that amplify the need for TAD to have a stable system of accountability and governance in place for both taxing entities and taxpayers. I have experience as a CFO in driving this sort of accountability through streamlined processes and systems. If selected, I would want to ensure an open line of communication with the board to best represent Fort Worth ISD needs. In summary, I will bring a diverse background and strong financial experience set to the Tarrant Appraisal Board of Directors, and thank you for your consideration. I'd also be happy to address any questions or feedback from the Fort Worth ISD board at this time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Onyinye Ajujo. If you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, President Ramos, the board, Superintendent Scribner. My name is Onyinye Ajujo, and I would like to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to present myself this evening as a candidate for the TAD board. I'm interested in the TAD because I have nearly 2 decades of experience adopting and developing annual budgets. I have experience working on tax referendums that have passed, which have made funding opportunities for economic development for the city and authorities that I serve. I am a servant leader, highly experienced in finance, financial audits, procurement, and analysis, which is required when dealing with the allocation of tax levied funds for major programs, salaries, and the district-wide initiatives. As a fiscal steward, in my leadership role, I have experience working with the board of directors, providing oversight, accountability, and serving on audit committees to ensure compliance. If appointed, my goal on behalf of the Fort Worth ISD is to efficiently serve as an effective member to ensure the production of an accurate, clear, and equitable appraisal role and policies that will serve with diversity and equity. I intend to ascertain transparency and accountability as required by you, the public, the district, and the children that the ISD serves. I will ensure my fellow TAD members are fair, and I will work closely with the Chief Appraiser as it relates to the review of financial status reports for the Fort Worth ISD in comparison to the other taxing districts. I will be your fresh set of eyes and your steward for the district because it is for what our children, the teachers, and the community needs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Our third speaker this evening is Sal Espino. If you're ready, you may begin. Sal Espino?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you may begin, sir.
Okay, hi, my name is Sal Espino. First, I want to thank each and every one of you for your dedicated service on behalf of Fort Worth ISD school children and on behalf of public education. Secondly, I want to respectfully request that you consider continuing to keep the applicant pool open so that you may continue to review and recruit a wide array of diverse candidates. Ultimately, the objective here is to select the most qualified candidate to best represent Fort Worth ISD on the board of directors for the Tarrant Appraisal District. And third, I would like to tell you a little bit about me, also be considered for that position. My story is an immigrant story. I was born in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, where my mom from Durango met my dad. In 1972, my family migrated to the historic north side of Fort Worth. And it was there that a young boy from humble and modest roots received, and the doors of educational opportunity were open. I attended Circle Park Elementary, now Manuel Jara, J.P. Elder Middle School, and then the magnet program, the High School for Finance Profession at Polytechnic High School. I was blessed to graduate #1 from Poly High School. I attended TCU on scholarships, where I earned a bachelor's in business administration, majored in accounting with magna cum laude honors, and then attended the Dedman School of Law at SMU in University Park in Dallas. For over 20 years, my law practice has concentrated on commercial and residential real estate transactions, and I've also represented clients before the Appraisal Review Board. For 12 years, I was the elected council member from District 2 in North Fort Worth from 2005 to 2017, and I was mayor pro tem from 2014 to 2016. During all this time, I've been very proud of my Fort Worth ISD education. I've given back, serving on the Fort Worth ISD redistricting committee after the 2000 census and 2010 census. I've spoken at countless career days and gone to countless events at schools, not only in the north side of Fort Worth, but all throughout Fort Worth ISD. I was honored to be included in the Fort Worth ISD Wall of Fame, and my diverse background in accounting, finance, real estate, law, public service, and community service makes me a candidate that would strongly represent the interests of Fort Worth ISD on the board of directors of Tarrant Appraisal District. Again, respectfully request, continue to keep the applicant pool open and select the best candidate to represent Fort Worth ISD. Thank you again for your time, your service, and your respectful consideration. Muchas gracias.
Our next speaker is Aaron Westbrook. Aaron Westbrook, are you ready to address the board? Mr. Ramos was asked to call her name and she may be unable to speak, so I will read her comment. My name is Aaron Westbrook and I want to address the start of in-person learning for the current school year. Although I wish to send my children who are enrolled in pre-K and kindergarten to school in person as soon as possible, I also fully support virtual options for all students and school staff. I would never ask another parent or school staff member to put themselves or their families at risk if they feel it is unsafe to return to school or work. However, I ask that you give parents and staff a choice. Please send another survey to both students and school staff to see who would choose in-person versus virtual learning. The numbers may be very different now that COVID-19 cases have been dropping. Schools have had time to purchase and implement additional safety equipment and measures, and people have seen other districts and private schools in Fort Worth and surrounding areas successfully reopen. Then, I ask that you allow each campus to evaluate whether they are able to accommodate in-person learning. I don't think it is fair to shut down an entire district when there are schools with enough staff and safety measures to reopen. This is especially true for elementary students who cannot stay home alone if their parents work outside the home. Most younger elementary students are also unable to use a Chromebook and complete lessons on their own without supervision. My husband and I both work full-time, So our current plan is to complete schoolwork in the evenings and over the weekend. I'm extremely anxious about how this is going to get done without completely burning out my children and family. Many students, including my own, are in daycare right now, where they are exposed to more people than they would be if in an elementary school classroom. Other students are forming learning pods, attending camps, playing on sports teams, and even working out with their high school teams, so they are not quarantined either. As a result, keeping school virtual is not serving its purpose of quarantining students. In summary, please reopen schools in person with a virtual option after the initial 4 weeks of virtual-only instruction. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ed Austin. You may begin, sir.
Good evening to the board members, President, Superintendent. My piece is the virus, the second wave. The coronavirus, better known as COVID-19, first arrived in February, early March, and has killed 150,000 people. 3 to 4 million people affected worldwide. The virus has been found in animals and pets. In other words, it's like a Frankenstein monster that's out of control, a super cold. The second wave is expected to hit in November. The coronavirus is a microorganism that can cause disease. This virus is also a contagion, meaning it can be passed from person to person. Genetic analysis, the second wave of COVID-19 is a beta virus known as the cytokine storm. The virus can affect your immune system. Your immune system will become compromised and begin attacking other vital organs as it's trying to fight out the virus itself. This is known as autoimmune response. I ask everyone to take this virus seriously. Teachers across the country are staying home. The time frame for the onset symptom can be 2 weeks. Children who are asymptomatic, children who present no symptoms can be carriers. Children who are asymptomatic can pass along the virus from students to teachers, the bus drivers, and various faculty and staff. And for grown folks who are not listening to medical science, which I watched numerous medical science, have classmates that are medical doctors, and y'all put our kids in jeopardy along with the staff members behind some money, I won't tolerate, especially in District 3 and 4. So the fight is on. I would not tolerate this district to allow these kids, because on your paperwork, you said you will provide a clean and safe environment when you know what's out there. And so our kids that's in 3 and 4 are being raised by grandparents and have preconditions that can infect their loved ones. So if y'all that senseless and that reckless about this virus that you can't tell from the flu or cold when we go into this flu season, if one child is sick, it's on y'all hands, and we will see you in federal court behind this. I promise you. The community will stand by me. I promise you, the fight is on, especially the ones that's off in 3 and 4. And y'all know better. Y'all know better. We have too many problems. We don't have enough medical assistance in our community, and we will not tolerate this. And I will fight this to the end. You have a good evening.
Our next speaker was Laura Overton, who asked that the following statement be read. I urge you to promote allowing speech-language pathologists to work from home in order to better serve their students. Texas law is clear concerning the quality of telehealth services. The addition of PPE will cause a reduction in quality that may cause sessions to be nullified, therefore causing FWISD to have a discrepancy between services required by ARD committee and services delivered. I will ethically be unable to bill for these sessions, causing a loss in revenue for FWISD. The law mentioned is section 111.212, requirements for the use of telehealth by speech-language pathologists. Subparagraph C, the scope, nature, and quality of services provided via telehealth are the same as that provided during in-person sessions by the provider. The next speaker will be Molly Hyrie. If you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I was surprised to see the vote for the TAD appointee on the agenda for tonight. It was stated at the special meeting on August 10th that there would be a transparent process for accepting applications. So I guess my question is, how and where was this advertised to the community? I expected there to be a very aggressive publicly, announced campaign, and it's disappointing to see that our board's actions aren't matching their words. I would encourage you to extend the application process and make sure that all parts of the process, from the timeline to the application and appointment date, are shared publicly, and most importantly, that the application is easily found on the Fort Worth ISD website. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michelle, who asked that her last name not be announced, and she has asked that the following statement be read. On Thursday, 8/20, speech-language pathologists, audiologists, occupational, physical, and music therapists in FWISD were informed that they were essential and required to be on campus starting Monday, 8/24. I'm an SLP, so I'm writing perspective. I have been performing all my job duties from home since COVID-19 hit our community. My governing board, TDLR, approves teletherapy as an approved practice in the state of Texas. I have been preparing all summer for virtual learning and working from home. I have worked in FWISD for 6 years, and I have a child who is a student and will also be learning at home. Experienced teachers in FWISD are allowed the option to work from home or campus. I am asking for the same option for SLPs, as I believe that the quality of our services will be compromised if required to work from a campus. If we work from a campus, we are required to wear masks. Masks impede the quality of our services as it reduces our intelligibility and covers up our facial expressions, which is an important part of therapy for our students with autism. If we believe the quality of our services has been diminished, we are not ethically able to bill Medicaid for our services. Last spring, during the early stages of COVID-19, our department was able to bill the same amount as the previous year, indicating that we were just as productive at providing services during the very. I am urging you to tell the Assistant Superintendent of Specialized Academic Support that speech therapy services can and should be performed either on campus or at home in order to keep everyone safe, but also in order to ensure high-quality services for our FWISD students. Thank you, Dr. Scribner and board members, for all you do for our students. Our next speaker this evening is Christina Sellers. You may begin if you're ready.
Hi, my name is Christina Sellers, and I am also a speech-language pathologist for Fort Worth ISD. I want to let you know that over 275 special education staff, including over 100 speech-language pathologists, found out on the 19th and 20th that they would be moving from remote work to working from a building beginning on August 24th. I personally have lost a 49-year-old family member to COVID-19, and I have a 30-year-old family member who survived a mild but prolonged bout with COVID-19 and has lung damage showing up on her chest x-rays right now. I have 5 members of my immediate family who are at high risk of death from COVID that I cannot reduce my contact with. I don't play with this virus, and I have not been in so much inside. I have not been inside so much as a grocery store since March. We have tried to reach out through the proper channels and have been assured that it is safe to return to a building. And more troubling, we have concerns that have not been addressed by our leadership. They have responded that our work is valued and that we are essential employees, but they haven't actually responded to our specific concerns. I want to tell you that I do not feel safe inside my building. There were 7 people at my building today with no masks down below their noses or chins, or wearing face shields instead of masks. I'm sure we'll be able to remedy those problems by making sure everyone knows they must have their PPE on when they're inside a building. And with that, I want to let you know that teletherapy is going to be very difficult to do while wearing PPE. While we have a mask on and a face shield, we're going to have reduced visual cues. Students are not going to be able to understand us. Masks attenuate sound by 3 to 12 decibels and also result in low pass filtering of high frequency sounds, making it more difficult to understand speech and some higher pitched voices. We're going to have a reduced ability to provide visual cues. When we're doing speech therapy, we often say, open your mouth like this, make your tongue do what I'm doing right now. And we're not going to be able to do that behind PPE over a screen. This is going to reduce our ability to bill Medicaid, as has been mentioned. And it's also going to be unethical. And I'm not going to do anything that's unethical, and I'm definitely going to prioritize the health and safety of my family. So I want you to know that there are speech language pathologists like me who are willing to leave the district if things stand as they currently are. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next public comment is a statement that Susan Tilley asked that be read. Hello, my name is Susan Tilley. I am the grandparent of a student who is in first grade at West Creek Elementary. He is autistic. During our virtual learning starting soon, most teachers are working from home, so no masks needed. However, Laura Overton, our speech therapist, is required to work from school, requiring a mask and shield. Please consider allowing her to work from home, eliminating a mask and shield. My grandson will not do well if he cannot see her face. He would not focus. Miss Laura has gone above and beyond for him. Please make his virtual learning a positive experience. Thank you for your consideration. And our last speaker this evening is Avia Correa. You may begin. Avia Correa. Avia Correa. Mr. Ramos, that concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Bond, and thank you all for sharing your thoughts this evening. We will move on to presentation, so I will turn it over to Dr. Scribner for a presentation from he and his team.
Thank you very much, President Ramos, members of the board, and our Fort Worth ISD school community, both our internal community and our external community. As you heard, we are in a very difficult time. Every family, each individual is debating kind of their steps moving forward, and we as a system are striving to make the best decisions in the interest of all students. Overwhelmingly, we believe that the Fort Worth ISD school community, again, both our internal and external community, wants to get students back to school. We want to do that virtually on the first day of school, but certainly as soon as possible in person when that is deemed safe for in-person instruction. We want a sense of normalcy for students, for teachers, for principals, for parents, for support staff, administrators, for our board members and other community leaders. So here we sit 2 weeks prior to the first day of school. I was asked earlier today about student enrollment, how many students are actually signed up to return. And as we make the comparison 2 weeks prior to the first day in 2019 and 2 weeks prior to the first day in 2020, I can say that students want to come back because our numbers, in fact, are up. We had about 59,000 students enrolled online exactly 2 weeks prior to the first day of school last year. And today we have 71,000 students enrolled online. So we're up 12,000 students. Just a bit of anecdotal data, our early college high school students have already begun their schedules. As you know, those campuses, TCC South, Marine Creek, and the Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences are all located on Tarrant County College campuses and therefore follow the TCC college calendar. We had 100%, yesterday was the first day of school, 100% enrollment and 100% attendance. So we were very, very pleased by that. The goal, as I said, is to guide us through these first few weeks and return safely to education. Our goal right now is that October 5th date. to open schools, but we also want to open them at a time when we can keep them open. We're encouraged. Recent COVID data indicates that positivity rates, cases per week, hospitalizations, and other metrics are heading in the right direction. They're not where we want them to be. But I want you to know that in addition to 2 meetings a week that I and other superintendents hold with our Tarrant County public health officials, we are going to have a smaller group meeting of just superintendents so that the public county health officials can outline the specific combination of metrics that would compel them recommend a return to school. And when we return to school, we certainly want to offer what has been pointed out in the public comment section, choice. I believe that the values of public education are around equity, excellence, efficiency, and choice. If we can go to the next slide. So we know what our mission is, preparing all students for success in college, career, and community leadership. And this board has led not only the state of Texas, but the nation in their commitment to equity, prioritizing, in this case, the health and safety of students and employees, but also providing choice for flexibility, equitable access to learning, and ensuring high quality educational experiences. The commitment to equity you'll hear about a little bit later in the presentation today, this evening rather, will touch upon not only our racial equity work, but also our resource investment through the school performance framework. We have schools on different tiers of performance, and those who are performing at higher levels have earned some autonomy, so that will allow us to redirect resources from those campuses and those pyramids to those areas of town and those zip codes that have historically performed at more challenging levels. Next slide, please. So we talked about what we're moving forward with, and that is, in these changing times, we need to adapt. We've already had to adapt not only to public health conditions and changing guidance from our state agencies, but also responding with different structures and flexibility, complying with TEA guidelines. And we know that by October, they likely will also change, balancing between district-wide structures and allowing flexibilities. For example, in the spring, when we all pivoted over spring break and in 2 weeks went from an in-person system to a stay-at-home order that was put upon us by local and state officials, our district-wide instructional plans were centric. They came from the district, and there was not much latitude. Now, with the work that we've done in the spring and summer, those guidelines from the district will be just that, a framework. They will be guidelines within which classroom teachers can use their professional judgment to modify instruction, to help students who need additional support, to accelerate those students who are ahead as they see fit. Next slide, please. So school districts nationwide, as I said, were kind of on their heels in the spring. Today, we're pushing forward. Our Fort Worth ISD Forward Return to Learning Plan, again, returning first virtually, but ultimately, and as quickly as possible, as safely as possible in person. We need to think, plan, and move forward. Next slide. Who would have thought that the boundary process, where we had almost 20 boundary forums and many more smaller follow-up meetings, our attendance boundary work last year, who would have thought that would be just a footnote in the 2019-2020 school year? Remember, we had not aligned our attendance boundaries in 20 years. We spent a lot of time doing that in the fall into the new year, and then COVID hit us. Remember why we aligned our feeder patterns. We wanted continuity for educational and student support programs. We're a large district of 209 square miles. We want to build community embedded into this large metropolitan area that is Fort Worth. School spirit from the high school to the middle schools to the elementary schools. And also, it creates a proactive way to anticipate needs. When there is a crisis in the home, it doesn't only affect the elementary student, but it also affects the middle school or high school sibling. And so we want to have that aligned communication. We understand how important, how impactful this work is, not only to close equity gaps, as we see them now even more prevalent in these unprecedented times. It simply allows for a more student-centered structure and support. Next slide. These student-centered focus decisions also led us to reorganize our central office in a student-centered support structure, where there is no longer a fragmented responsibility, but rather a cohesive unit to support students and to support schools. This is what we will see virtually initially, but once we get back to in-person instruction, we are really excited about the positive impact that this change will render. Really, it's one point of contact and one point of accountability. As you see in the before picture, we had a chief of elementary and a chief of secondary, reworking that now to 2 chiefs on student and school support. Each one of them supervising a handful of executive directors responsible for instruction through the pre-K-12 pyramid, vertical alignment, with school principals and school pyramids all working in unison from the elementary to middle school and high school level. Next slide. The same holds true for academics. Looking forward to our 2020-2021 school year, you will also see multi-layered support that is also a function of one point of contact versus elementary and secondary responsibility. Also, the school performance framework. We are going to be shifting resources toward those zip codes, towards those pyramids that have the tier 4 and 5 schools that have been struggling historically. We know what works, as you saw in our Leadership Academy. When we bring our most effective teachers to serve our students in the greatest need, so high quality instruction, more time on task, expanding the school day, and after school support, and not only academic support, but also exposure to fine arts, to enrichment, to athletics. All of that makes for a well-rounded student. And we want to do that not only in terms of our social and emotional support, but also in our academic support. Next slide, please. So moving forward in this unique year where we will have both virtual and in person, we focused a great deal on professional development. Our educational tech team online platform focused in the spring while we were on shelter at home and beyond. We worked with 1,300 teachers, awarding over 6,800 credit hours. This summer, by the end of the summer, when school starts in just 2 weeks, we will have served more than 5,000 teachers with professional development on our new online platform. Next slide. Communication. We all have communicated regularly with our stakeholders during these historic, unprecedented, and difficult times. Each member of each board of trustee, myself, our entire staff. This is a very, very difficult time, but communication is key as we solve problems with a two-way flow of information. We've dedicated our webpage for COVID-19 and learning at home. These are efforts that need to continue, and we also have to look at this from non-traditional avenues, not only district websites, but also through internal email, digital newsletters, social media platforms, and the like. Next slide. The plan forward with regard to stakeholder engagement began early this summer with our Equity and Excellence team and a community conversation. The board held 3 separate trustee-sponsored town halls. And just recently, last week, we had our Let's Talk Live virtual instruction with teaching faculty and staff, and multiple focus group engagement opportunities beyond that, not only Fort Worth ISD sponsored, but with many of our partners and nonprofits. Community Frontline is one. I've spoken to several of our faith leaders as well as we move forward and communicate our plans for both effective virtual and ultimately safe and effective in-person instruction. Next slide. So what is the plan forward? You'll remember this from a board meeting that we held many weeks ago, where we shared with you the decision to change the start date to September the 8th. That starts the TEA clock. The board, through the TEA guidelines, we've decided for 4 weeks, unless the COVID metrics improve dramatically, our plan is to bring back students in a safe manner on October the 5th. We will be monitoring that in the weeks to come and be making presentations to our community as soon as school starts, so that we all are headed in the same direction. At the end of the 4 weeks on October the 5th, one of two things can happen. Depending on the circumstances on the ground, we could extend virtual for another 4 weeks with a phase-in plan, or offer the virtual and in-person choice, those available to all students. Again, we're encouraged by the most recent COVID numbers. We hope that that decline in cases and those other metrics are sustained and continue to go lower. Our goal again is to bring students back on October the 5th. In fact, this week we will be surveying again. I know one of our speakers asked for another survey. That's already in the works. We want to get the most current and most accurate feedback from our parents and community. So we will be asking our parents about their decision. Should the COVID numbers continue to go in the right direction and we were to return on October the 5th, what percentage, how many of our students would be returning in person, and how many would want to return online? Next slide. As many of you know, as part of our most recent reorganization, we established the new position of Executive Director of Parent Partnership. Remember, we're transitioning away from parent engagement to parent partnership. We can learn as much from our parents in every corner of the city as they can learn from us. We want our new Executive Director not to be a central office employee, but rather serve at the campus level, working with all of our principals to improve parental partnership. And as you know, the individual in that position was a very successful principal, particularly in the area of parent partnership. We're committed to engaging our parents as partners in education, not only to improve student outcomes, but to support our equity work. How? By communicating using, as I said, a variety of platforms, not only the website, but social media, virtual town halls will continue, campus drive-throughs, our front porch visits, and many of those included a social worker to communicate with families, gathering stakeholder input via surveys. You'll be expecting, please expect another survey here shortly. Town halls, public comment, Let's Talk app, deliberately providing multilingual and interpretation services for all events and communications. And we will continue with our videos to help parents prepare for students in their online learning. Next. So what would virtual learning look like? I indicated earlier that as we pivoted, like every district in Texas and across the nation last spring, for a district-wide effort, we will provide more of a framework. Teachers not only will be engaged for the 4 hours, 3 hours at the pre-K level, but K through 12 for 4 hours of direct instruction every day and engagement. In addition to that, our teachers will have planned availability for students, including office hours for one-on-one connection, but also for small group work. So what will be different in this virtual 2.0 in Fort Worth? Well, we know that in some cases last spring, participation was not as regular as we would have liked, and the state guidelines provided for a pass-fail system. That no longer is the case. Academic work will be graded. It'll be graded in an A through F system. The new platform we will be using is Google Classroom, K-12. Students and teachers are familiar with that. Seesaw will be the platform for preschool, for pre-K rather. Our TEA guidelines, as I said, 4 hours of engagement, direct instruction for K-12, 3 for the pre-K students. Providing sample lessons for students, kind of a baseline from which they can enhance the lesson. Or if students want a model lesson, we'll also be providing model lessons by an expert teacher that will be play that model lesson and then follow it up with direct instruction, checking for understanding and following their own lesson plans. We've modified our scope and sequence. Scope and sequence means what we are teaching and when we are teaching it. We've modified it to match with our 4 hours of engagement and direct instruction. In some cases, teachers will be able to work on foundational skills, and others will be able to accelerate instruction. Next slide, please. Moving forward, again, our special education students are always a focus. The specialized academic support services. In fact, I know that tomorrow night we'll have another town hall. Our Chief Academic Officer, Jerry Moore, will be hosting the Special Ed PTA town hall tomorrow evening. We want to continue to have a good dialogue and learn from our special education parents so we can make sure that their students have access to a free and appropriate public education to the greatest extent possible virtually. We will be honoring the individualized educational program, the IEP, and especially for students whose IEPs cannot be met in a virtual setting. We will be arranging for in-person services during the first 4 weeks, in person on campus. So we want to make sure that they cover that tomorrow night in the virtual town hall. Next slide. Again, focusing in 2 areas: academic support, health, safety, and social and emotional learning. The realignment of our pyramids is going to allow for us to serve each campus in each pyramid with one point of contact, one point of accountability. Next. And then moving forward, not only supporting our students, but supporting every member of the school community, instructional support for teachers, additional assistance for students, providing technology support for parents. We know that we need to expand the help desk and also provide one-on-one opportunities for parents who are struggling with technology and their understanding of technology. Also resources for teachers, students, and parents. The support will be available on the first day of school. It'll be available in person, it'll be available on campus, and it will begin on September the 8th. Meal distribution. We are expanding our meal distribution from 18 sites to every neighborhood school across the city. It allows us to address not only, it allows us really a window into our students and families to help address social and emotional needs should that emerge in that interaction, but also provide a touch point for parents who have technology needs as they arrive. So the plan that our team has put together, we believe, is forward thinking, focusing on feeder alignment, reorganization, teacher training, forward planning with communication, stakeholder engagement, decision making, and moving forward with funding, parent partnership, virtual learning, support for schools. And at this time, our team would be happy to entertain any questions, comments, or suggestions the board may have.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Scribner. Any questions from the board? You can either just go ahead and chime in or use the little blue hand from the board.
President Ramos?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, but my little blue hand is not appearing.
Okay, no worries.
I think that because this is a webinar format, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, may I ask some questions?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Scribner, for that very thorough presentation. I was reminded of and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, of the American Academy of Pediatrics, who recommended that we listen to our health professionals, but we also allow our educational professionals to put the plan in place. And that is something that you and your team, I know, have worked hard on. Opening up schools and allowing in-person instruction is an extremely complicated, intricate, and it must be a very deliberate process. And so I appreciate all the time that you have put into that. I am very excited to hear the student enrollment numbers that are up, and I know that too is not by accident, that there have been many people who have been working tirelessly and finding very creative ways to reach families, going door to door. I think there was one team of staff members that sat in front of grocery stores in order to catch people on their way in to the grocery store. They're really thinking outside the box, and this is one of those times that we need that. And so I appreciate all the effort that has gone into making sure these students are enrolled. I don't want somebody to think that effort goes unnoticed, because it's significant and it's important. I'm also thankful for the reorganization that has been put in place. It makes so much more sense to me, and it's nice to know that if I need to reach an executive director, that I can figure out which one it is, because I know which pyramid they are directing. And so I appreciate that. And thank you for the thorough information regarding services for students who have additional needs, whether they are economic needs or food needs or social emotional needs. Some of our students have needs that are great, and I'm glad that we are continuing to meet those needs. With the new COVID numbers that we're receiving, hooray for Tarrant County. So we're going in the right direction. I think we finally figured out as a community that the responsibility to get kids in schools does not just rely on the school district. It is a community effort, and we all have to do our part to make sure that we are creating and fostering an environment that will allow our kids to get back in schools, because I know that is where students learn best, and I know that you will agree with that statement. If you to decline, I also recognize that just because the numbers have landed where we would like to see them, that we can't just flip a switch and open up schools, because it's a very complicated process. And you outlined a lot of that process. If the numbers continue to decline, is there a chance, and this may require board approval, of which I am only one member of, is there a chance to possibly allow some students to return to in-person learning before October 5th that are in really key or transition years, such as like pre-K through 2?
Well, thank you for the question, Trustee Dar. Yes, we're open to anything. Again, the conversation around flexibility within a structure, I think, is key. I agree that masks seem to be working. I was driving into work this morning, and I heard an advertisement that said, public service advertisement said, wear your mask. COVID stops with me. That each one of us have a ability to affect change, but absolutely, we're going to be watching those very closely. As I said, along with the superintendent of Arlington ISD, we're the two largest districts in Tarrant County. We have asked for a meeting with public health officials, again, to outline the specific combination of metrics and sustained levels that would compel them to recommend that we return. And obviously, those decisions are school official decisions. So it would be a recommendation from me to the board to be considered and perhaps voted on. We would want to do that in a logistically well thought out way, so that, like you said, we wouldn't decide to start school one afternoon and start it the next morning. We'd want to make sure we were planning this out well. But I think really nothing is off the table. We really needed to take a look at this. Again, understanding though that choice is going to be something that one of the values, as I said, equity, excellence, efficiency, and choice, that we would want to honor. Should it be deemed that the public health officials are recommending a return to in-school instruction, we still would want to provide that choice for those families who would prefer to have their students remain at home. But to answer your question, yes, we are watching this very closely and would be moving forward in a thoughtful way.
Do you have a date yet for the meeting with the health department, or are you waiting to hear back from them?
We are working on scheduling right now. I hope that it can be done this week. So we have tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday to get that scheduled. And the 3 or 4 of us would really dive into those numbers. In fact, they have developed the dashboard that many of us see on their website, and they want to have an even more specific dashboard focused on school age students, and also, if at all possible, regionally, because we know that the virus is hitting different sectors of our city. We're 209 square miles, different sectors of our city in different ways.
That is very true. The another question. The survey, one of the key pieces to this is most definitely going to be staff and teachers and who is willing to be in the building and wants to be in the building. And I know that there are teachers out there that are dying and desperate to go back. And I know that there are other educators and staff members and professionals that who we heard from one earlier this evening, who have medically compromised people in their home, or who are medically compromised themselves. I would think that getting a survey out to staff sooner rather than later would be a key piece to this equation, even before asking parents, because the district needs to know what we have to work with. It's a complicated process, but that to get that information from staff as soon as possible, so that the district knows exactly where we stand in that front, and what the issues are that are going to need to be addressed or not addressed or whatever. So I would love to see that out sooner rather than later.
We agree with you, and we'll move forward accordingly.
And that's all I have. I do appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I'm not exactly sure when most of you or your team slept over the summer. It's a very complicated process. I heard a news reporter the other day, not too long ago, say that Fort Worth ISD needs to begin to put preparations in place. And I'm like, dude, they've been working on this for a long time. We are not beginning to get this in order. This has been a process, and not just one plan, but many plans, because things are changing so consistently. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Dar. I don't see anyone that may have raised their hand, or any trustees, if you'd like to just jump in. Questions or comments? Okay. Looks like we don't have any questions or comments for you, Dr. Scribner and the team. We'll now move on to consent agenda items. As board president, I am making the following statement in accordance with board policy BBFA local. This is a reminder to all board members of the legal conflict of interest requirements and disclosure requirements you may have for matters under consideration on the agenda for this meeting. If required by law, board members shall recuse themselves from all discussion and shall abstain from voting on any matter pertaining to such a disclosure. Please note that consent agenda item B14, which is approved purchase of an online beginning and intermediate college algebra course for high school students, has been pulled and will not be addressed tonight. So I'm gonna call on each trustee, see if you have any questions or comments concerning an agenda item. We'll begin with District 2 Trustee Toby Jackson. Do you have any questions or comments on consent agenda?
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. District 3 Trustee Quentin Phillips.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Ramos. When it comes to the consent agenda this evening, there's 2 items, in particular, one with Westbrook, one with Forest Hill, as far as renewed contracts with policing. We're at the point now to where I know that we're going to need to get these contracts in place in order to be able to be successful for our school year that we're now beginning. My comment is, and I guess my request is that we utilize this year that we now have, because these are yearly contracts, that we utilize this year to actually be able to, speak with faculty, staff, and students, as well as the community about the role that our policing are playing in our schools, so we can actually have a substantial body that we are able to look at when it comes to how we're making this decision, how we're making these decisions moving forward. For the most part, before now, it's been pretty easy to rubber stamp and kind of just continue to roll on. what we have going. But now with a heightened sense of awareness of what these roles look like, I think it will behoove us, and no matter what our decision making is moving forward, that we have a substantial base as far as why we're selecting how we're moving. So I guess just putting that into the atmosphere to Dr. Scribner, to staff members, if we could take a great look at that, look at that throughout this year, and make sure that we're involving the community heavily on what their opinions and experiences are with police officers within our school. Thank you, President Ramos.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to District 4 Trustee Daphne Brookins. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I know that we had spoken about all of the board members going through the COVID training. I wanted to make sure that with the renewal of those contracts with the police, that I know we said that before, that they were going to go through the same training that we were. I just wanted to make sure that we are sticking to that.
Karen, I saw you nodding your head. Is that a yes?
Ms. Brookins, thank you. We will ensure that's happening. We did include in the contract our training for our racial equity work. So that is in the contract that you'll see in the background and the backup. But we will definitely work with Benbrook as well as Forest Hill about our COVID training, and then Fort Worth as well. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, though.
Thank you, Trustee Brookins. District 5 Trustee CJ Evans, any questions or comments?
Yes, two things. First, on B2 with Con Mi Madre, I know it looks like we're just in 3 schools now, 3 middle schools. I would love to see that broadened and extended where possible, and where it can grow organically. And then B6, how many years has this been happening? I saw some of the data, but how many years has this been in place?
I don't have the answer for how many years, Ms. Evans, but I know we have been doing it, and the increase in the numbers we see also is this is our key with our partnership with T3, but I can certainly get you that data.
Okay, and then how many counselors is it employing?
It's a mix, because we have one at the comprehensive high school that we're paying for, and then with T3, they're also for the 6 schools that we're doing T3 at. It's 6 more per school that's there. So it depends on the school and which was a part of the T3 pilot. So in total, we're looking at right now 13 that we're covering because we're paying for one, and then the ones that T3 is paying for at the 6 campuses.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. District 6 Trustee Andor, any questions or comments on consent agenda?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay. District Norm Trustee Robbins wasn't able to join us today. District 8 Trustee Ana Luebanos, any questions or comments?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. District 9 Trustee Ashley Paz.
I have no questions, but I would just like to support the perspectives that were presented by both Trustee Phillips and Brookins.
Okay, thank you. And I won't have any questions or comments either myself. We're now going to recess and reconvene in closed meeting for executive session. The time is 6:36 p.m. The date is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. We will now recess and reconvene virtually for executive session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code under Sections 551.071, 0.072, 0.074, and 0.076. Waiting on Trustee Brookins. Okay. We'll get going. In accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:33 p.m. in a private video conference with a quorum present, recessed and reconvened open session virtually, adjourned regular session, convened executive session, adjourned executive session, and now reconvened open session at 8:33 p.m. in the public virtual video conference with a quorum present. The trustees who are present virtually are, and I'll call you individually and you'll just say present. Trustee Toby Jackson.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Quentin Phillips.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Daphne Brookins.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee CJ Evans.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Andar.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ana Luevanos.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ashley Paz.
Present.
And I am District 1 Trustee Jacinto Ramos Jr. and I'm present. We will move on to accepting consent agenda items. Do I have a motion accepting consent agenda items? If you have a motion, just please state your name. That way we have it for the record.
Jackson, so moved.
I have a motion by Trustee Toby Jackson. Do I have a second?
Evans, second.
Thank you. We have a second by Trustee CJ Evans. I'll call on each trustee if there's any discussion. District 2 Trustee Toby Jackson, any discussion?
No discussion. Thank you.
Trustee Phillips?
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins?
No discussion.
Trustee Evans?
No discussion.
Trustee Dar?
No discussion.
Trustee Luevanos?
No discussion.
Trustee Paz?
No discussion.
And I'm Jacinto Ramos, and I have no discussion. We're going to move to vote. I'll call you each trustee by name. If you would please say yes or no on accepting consent agenda items. Trustee Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Trustee Brookins?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yes.
Trustee Dar?
Yes.
Trustee Luevanos?
Yes.
Trustee Paz?
Yes.
And I'm Jacinto Ramos Jr. and I vote yes. So the motion passes unanimously, 8-4 and 0 against. We will move on to action items. We did not remove any from consent agenda. So we will move on to personnel on staff attorney, executive director, special education. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Jackson.
Thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second, and I'll.
Thank you. We have a second by Trustee Luevanos. We'll call on each trustee in case we have any discussion. Trustee Jackson?
No discussion except thank you to staff. This is exciting.
Thank you. Trustee Phillips?
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins?
No discussion.
Trustee Evans?
No discussion.
Trustee Dar?
No discussion.
Trustee Luevanos?
No discussion.
Trustee Paz?
No discussion.
And I have no discussion as well. I'm District 1 trustee. We will move to voting. Please say yes, no, or abstain. Beginning with District 2 Trustee Jackson.
Yes.
Trustee Phillips.
Yes.
Trustee Brookins.
Yes.
Trustee Evans.
Yes.
Trustee Dar.
Yes.
Trustee Luevanos.
Yes.
Trustee Paz.
Yes.
And I'm Trustee Ramos, and I vote yes. The motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. Dr. Scribner, would you like to make some introductions?
Yes, thank you very much, President Ramos and the members of the board. We are very pleased with your action on this item tonight. We have added 2 more valuable members to our team. The first individual I'd like to introduce to you is our new staff attorney, and his name is Neil Bonavita. And if we could offer him an opportunity to briefly address the board. Neil.
Good evening, members of the board, President Ramos, Dr. Scribner. I am pleased and grateful to be joining the staff at Fort Worth ISD, and I'm looking forward to joining up with you guys starting September 1. So I'm looking forward to being there next Tuesday, and I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you, Neil. We look forward to having you on board as we take our legal team to full capacity. And also tonight we are adding to our team the Executive Director of Special Education, Dr. Janice Carter. Dr. Carter, would you like to please address the board briefly? I think you're on mute, Janice.
Let's see. Yes, I am. I think I'm off mute now.
Yes,
Hello.
you are.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. President Ramos and Dr. Scribner, members of the board, good evening. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me. I look forward to starting with Fort Worth ISD, less than a week away. Been a long wait, but so I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I can't wait to get to work. I've been waiting for this for almost 2 months now. So I'm very excited. I am definitely honored. I'm moving in the process of doing my final moves from California to Fort Worth. So I'll be back this weekend. I was there from June through like 3 days ago. So I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard, Janice. We're very, very excited, and that concludes our reports, President Ramos. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scribner. Welcome, Dr. Carter, and welcome, Mr. Bonavita. Glad to have you with Fort Worth ISD. We will now move on to action agenda item A, which is discussion and action to approve district teaching permit for non-core CTE courses. Do I have a motion?
Ashley Paz, move.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Trustee Paz. Do I have a second?
Trustee Dar.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a second by Trustee Dar. We'll call on each of you just in case we have any discussion. Trustee Jackson?
No discussion.
Trustee Phillips?
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins?
No discussion.
Trustee Evans?
No discussion.
Trustee Dar?
No discussion.
Trustee Trustee Luevanos?
No discussion.
Trustee Paz?
No discussion.
And I have no discussion as well, so we'll move to voting. I'll call your names, trustees. Please say yes, no, or abstain. Trustee Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Trustee Brookins?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yes.
Trustee Dar?
Yes.
Trustee Luevanos?
Yes.
Trustee Paz?
Yes.
And I'm Trustee Ramos, and I vote yes. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. Passes unanimously. Going on to 12B, which is discussion and action to approve contract renewals for educational technology, digital learning, Texas Student Data System, TSDS, Public Education Information Management, PEIMS, and Region 11, Telecommunication Network, RETN, for 2020-2021 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Jackson.
Thank you. We have a motion by Trustee Jackson. Do we have a second?
Second, Paz.
Phillips, second.
Thank you. We have a second by Trustee Paz. Call on each trustee if we have any discussion. Trustee Jackson?
No discussion.
Trustee Phillips?
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins?
No discussion.
Trustee Evans?
No discussion.
Trustee Dar?
I will be abstaining from this vote because Region 11 is my employer.
Thank you, Trustee Dar. Trustee Luevanos?
No discussion.
Trustee Paz?
No discussion.
And I also don't have any discussion. My name is Jacinto Ramos Jr., trustee. We will now call trustees for a yes, no, or abstaining on the voting. Trustee Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Trustee Brookins?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yes.
Trustee Dar?
Abstain.
Thank you. Trustee Luevanos?
Yes.
Trustee Paz?
Yes.
And I'm Trustee Ramos, and I vote yes. So the motion passes 7-4 and one person abstaining. We will now go on to discussion and action to nominate and cast votes regarding Tarrant Appraisal District appointment selection. I have a motion.
I have a motion.
Trustee Luébanos, what is your motion?
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Ramos. I have a motion. I move to extend the deadline to for the TAD Board of Directors for an additional 1 week. The purpose of my motion is to ensure we have the biggest possible applicant pool possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Luébanos. Do we have a second?
Second, Jackson.
Thank you. So we have a second by Trustee Jackson on the motion to extend by 7 days. We'll call on trustees for discussion. Trustee Jackson, any discussion?
No discussion.
Trustee Phillips,
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins,
No discussion.
Trustee Evans,
No discussion.
Trustee Dar,
No discussion.
Trustee Luébanos,
No discussion.
Trustee Paz.
No discussion.
And I'm Trustee Ramos, and I have no discussion. We'll move to vote. I'll call on each trustee. Please say yes, no, or abstain. Trustee Jackson,
Yes.
Trustee Phillips,
No.
Trustee Brookins,
Yes.
Trustee Evans,
Yes.
Trustee Dar,
Yes.
Trustee Luébanos,
Yes.
Trustee Paz,
No.
and I am Trustee Ramos, and I will also vote no. Motion passes 5-4 and 3 against. We will move on to 12D, which is discussion and action to approve endorsement of candidate for Texas Association of School Boards, Board of Directors, Region 11, Position C. If I may, as one of the TASB representatives, I'd like to make a motion for Arlington ISD Justin Chapa to endorse him for the Texas Association of School Boards, Board of Directors, Region 11, Position C. Do we have a second?
Second, Jackson.
Thank you. We have a second by Trustee Jackson. We'll call on each trustee for any discussion. Trustee Jackson?
No discussion.
Thank you. Trustee Phillips?
No discussion.
Trustee Brookins?
No discussion.
Trustee Evans?
No discussion.
Trustee Dar?
No discussion.
Trustee Luébanos?
No discussion.
Trustee Paz?
No discussion.
And I'm Trustee Ramos, and I have no discussion. Will please move the vote. As I call your names, trustees, please say yes, no, or abstain. Trustee Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Trustee Brookins?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yes.
Trustee Dar?
Yes.
Trustee Luébanos?
Yes.
Trustee Paz?
Yes.
And I am Trustee Ramos, and I vote yes, so the motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. We've come towards the end of the meeting, my friends. We're at comments by board members or superintendent on current district activities and announcements. We'll call on each trustee just in case you have any announcements. We'll begin with Trustee Toby Jackson.
Thank you, President Ramos. I want to thank the Eastern Hills Pyramid. I want to thank Dr. Cherie Washington as well as Deborah Traylor. There is some wonderful unity, and of course the schools within the Eastern Hills Pyramid are not only in the 2nd District where I represent, but also in Trustee Phillips' district. And together they were all out knocking on doors and visiting with individuals and increasing the knowledge of everyone in the community that school will begin. And it's amazing what they learned. Many people think if they haven't signed up to attend virtual school that they don't start on our start date. So that was one thing that they learned. But the big thing that they learned was where their kids live, who their families are. And the big thing that the kids and the families learned was that Fort Worth ISD cares, and especially in the Eastern Hills Pyramid. So I want to send a special thanks out to each one of those individuals that gave of their time. And I also want to thank them for giving of their heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Jackson. Next up, Trustee Phillips, any comments?
Comments, sir?
Thank you, Trustee Brookins.
I just want to thank Dr. Scribner and his team for putting together the presentation that we had earlier today. After seeing that, I understand a lot more of the processes of what we're doing as far as districting and how we're utilizing everything we can to help our students in our district. And also wanted to ask that we get a copy of the door hangers that are going out for those of us who can't walk through all the neighborhoods. I'd like to see if we can get that put in our neighborhood newsletters about registration.
Thank you, Trustee Brookins. Trustee Evans.
I just want to give a shout out to South High Mount Elementary and their PTA on their new outdoor classroom. Last semester, one of the first grade teachers identified a need that would not just benefit her classroom, but it'd benefit all the students on campus. She went to the PTA and they started working their magic, getting input from everybody and applying for grants. And they were awarded a grant this summer. And when the South High Mount students come back in October, they're going to have a brand new outdoor classroom and the whole school's going to benefit from it. And I just want to say thank you to the PTA and the staff at South High Mount for the great job in getting that done.
Thank you, Trustee Evans. Trustee Dar.
Thank you, President Ramos. Just a quick shout out to the schools who serve the constituents in District 6. I follow you all on Facebook, and there is a constant steady stream of good news and great things that are happening on your campuses. And also a tribute to the teachers and the hard work that they're doing and the administrators and the hard work that they're doing. This is a full team effort. This is administration, this is teachers, this is paraprofessionals, this is staff, and everybody else is on board and working hard. And I just want you to know that I enjoy, that's the bright spot of my time on social media, is seeing some of the great stuff that's going on in these schools. So thank you very much. And the PTAs too, that are working hard to make sure that things are in place for kids when they return to school virtually and then when they return to school in person. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Trustee Dar. Next up, Trustee Luevanos.
Thank you, President Ramos. I would like to second Enzar's comments. And then I would like to thank all the schools, middle schools and high schools that are doing these meetings for virtual learning, also in Spanish. So that way, a lot more audience is being reached about how to do online classes. So thank you to all the schools who are doing that. And I know some of them have a schedule this week and next week to do those online videos. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Luevanos. Trustee Paz.
No comment.
Dr. Scribner.
It's been a long night. I want to thank this board for your commitment and thank our team for their service, and look forward to getting after it tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Scribner. And I don't have any comments either. So at this time, the time is 8:51 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Everyone stay safe.